It was raining sideways when Noah Greer arrived at the clinic. The taxi driver refused to go past the iron gate, muttering about the sea taking what it's owed. Noah pushed through the storm alone, suitcase dragging through mud. The sign above the door flickered. Dr. Elias Vance, Rejuvenation Clinic. Inside, the lights hummed too bright, the air thick with antiseptic and salt. Something about the place felt rehearsed, like an empty stage waiting for its audience. He heard a voice from upstairs. Calm, deliberate, belonging to Dr. Vance. And for a moment, it almost sounded like prayer. Somewhere deeper in the hall, a metallic bang echoed. Noah froze, breath caught between fear and curiosity. Would you still trust your doctor if you heard that sound in the dark? Morning light crept through the clinic windows like diluted gold. Dr. Vance greeted Noah with an unsettling warmth, offering coffee that tasted faintly metallic. He explained the clinic's purpose, restoring vitality through rejuvenative resonance. Noah smiled politely, pretending to understand. The doctor's eyes never blinked long enough. As they walked past the patient rooms, Noah noticed the doors had no handles on the inside. Something in his stomach twisted. Still, the pay was good, and he needed the job. Everyone deserves a second chance, he told himself. But so did the ones who disappeared. By afternoon, Noah was cataloging patient files. The dates stopped 2 years ago. Though Vance claimed constant appointments, he opened a drawer and found photographs. Dozens of them. Patients smiling before surgery, all stamped cured. He flipped one over, the same name repeated beneath each photo, written in identical handwriting. Clara Holt blinked. Same woman, different faces. A faint melody played from somewhere below, an old phonograph crackling through vents. Noah followed it to a locked door at the base of the staircase. The smell of ozone and antiseptic grew stronger. When he pressed his ear to the door, he heard a whispering rhythm, half chant, half hum, as though someone spoke through water. Then silence, sudden and absolute. He stepped back, realizing his reflection in the polished handle didn't move with him. That night, Noah couldn't sleep. The sound of the sea battered the cliffs, echoing through the pipes. In the darkness, he saw a faint glow seeping beneath his door. Soft, pulsing, almost breathing. He reached for the handle, but his hand stopped midair. Footsteps paced the hallway outside. Slow, measured, each one matching the rhythm of his heartbeat. When the light suddenly vanished, the silence screamed, louder than the storm. The next morning, the fog hung thick over the cliffs, swallowing the horizon. Dr. Vance's voice echoed down the corridor. Today you'll see something extraordinary, Noah. The operating room shimmered in cold light, every instrument gleaming like a blade of faith. Clara sat silently on the table, her pulse faint beneath the monitor's slow rhythm. Vance moved with calm precision, his expression one of reverence, not medicine. Noah watched, trying to believe this was healing, not sacrifice. The air vibrated faintly, as if humming from beneath the floor. Dr. Vance asked Noah to document every detail: pulse rate, respiration, eye dilation. His tone was soft, hypnotic. As the machine hummed to life, Clara's body arched, eyes wide with something between terror and ecstasy. The lights dimmed. Monitors flickered. Noah shouted for the doctor to stop, but Vance's hand lifted slowly, palm outward, commanding silence. The body must remember before it forgets, he whispered. When it was over, Clara lay still, breathing but changed. Hours later, Noah returned to the room. The table was clean. The machines were silent. Clara's bed upstairs was empty. Vance claimed she'd gone home, restored, renewed, but her belongings were still neatly folded on the chair. He tried to ask more, but Vance's stare made the question rot in his throat. Never interrupt recovery, the doctor said. That night, Noah swore he heard her voice humming through the vent. The next day, Noah explored the storage room. Boxes of medical equipment sat beside rows of dusty glass jars filled with pale fluid. Floating inside one was something that looked like a human eye, but too perfect to a lie. A folder marked Reclamation 3A lay open, filled with sketches of organs connected by thin silver wires. Vance appeared suddenly behind him. Curiosity, he said quietly, is a dangerous infection. That night, Noah dreamed he was back in the operating room. The hum beneath the floor had become a heartbeat, deep and rhythmic. He saw Clara lying on the table again, whispering something he couldn't hear. When he leaned closer, her lips moved in sync with his breath. He woke to find his hands stained faintly red, though he hadn't touched a thing. Downstairs, a single light glowed beneath the operating room door. The clinic grew quieter after Clara's disappearance. Almost too quiet. Noah tried to focus on his duties, but every drawer he opened revealed something that didn't belong in medicine. Symbols etched into scalpels, vials marked with names. A faint smell of burnt sugar. He found an old recorder in Vance's office, the tape already inside. When he pressed play, a soft voice murmured, "Vitality is transfer, not healing." It was Vance, calm, confident, unhurried. The sound of a human heartbeat played beneath his words. Then another voice joined, Clara's whispering for help. Noah couldn't stop listening. The next tape was older, dated 10 years before the clinic's opening. Vance's voice described a process called the exchange of vitality. He spoke like a preacher, not a scientist, about rebirth, about purity, about the refinement of the self through others. Noah skipped ahead. Screams erupted, raw and real. He yanked the headphones off. His pulse pounded in his ears. From somewhere in the clinic, a door creaked open on its own. He followed the sound to the observation gallery above the operating room. The lights below flickered to life by themselves, revealing the empty table. Yet, shadows moved. Two figures repeating a scene from memory, performing a ritual in silence. Noah realized it was a recording projected somehow from the past. Dr. Vance stood over Clara again, his hands glowing faintly. He mouthed words Noah couldn't hear, but his eyes lifted, and for an instant, met Noah's directly through time. That night, Noah confronted Vance. The doctor stood in his office, hands folded behind his back, smiling gently, as though expecting him. "Curiosity again," Vance said. "You hear the old work, don't you?" His voice carried no anger, only sadness. "I'm not stealing life, Noah. I'm preserving it." He placed a hand on Noah's shoulder. His skin was warm, pulsing. The patients never left. They became part of something greater. Noah recoiled, realizing Vance's wrinkles had vanished. Unable to sleep, Noah returned to the observation window one last time. The lights were off, but in the reflection, Clara's face appeared. Lips pale, eyes open. She mouthed the words, "Help me." He pressed his hand against the glass. Condensation spread between his fingers, as if something breathed on the other side. Then, a faint knock came from inside the room below. Noah woke to the sound of footsteps outside his room. When he opened the door, Dr. Vance was waiting, dressed not in his white coat, but in a black robe that shimmered faintly under the hallway lights. "It's time you understood what we do here," Vance said softly. He led Noah down the stairs toward the operating room. The hum beneath the floor was louder now, almost alive. "You will witness the final stage," the doctor added, "and you will see there is no death, only refinement." The operating room had changed. Gone were the sterile sheets and equipment. In their place, symbols drawn in salt across the floor, candles burning in surgical trays, the smell of iron thick in the air. In the center stood a second table covered by a white sheet. Beneath it, something breathed. "This," Vance said, "is the threshold." He motioned for Noah to approach. The shape beneath the sheet shifted, and a faint, broken whisper escaped from underneath. "Please." "No more." Vance began to speak. Not words, but sounds, low and rhythmic, a blend of chant and breath. The candles dimmed, their flames bending inward toward him. He lifted his hands, tracing invisible lines through the air. The hum beneath the floor rose to a vibrating growl. Noah couldn't move. His body felt pinned by something unseen. "You see, Noah," Vance said between breaths. "They give what they no longer need." The sheet slipped from the table. Clara's face stared blankly upward, eyes open but hollow, lips moving soundlessly. As Vance continued, the candles flared violently, their light pulsing in time with his words. Clara's chest rose once, twice. Then her breath stopped completely. A faint mist poured from her lips, swirling upward, drawn into the doctor's outstretched hands. His skin flushed with color. His wrinkles faded before Noah's eyes. The lights flickered. Glass shattered somewhere above. Noah screamed, but his voice drowned beneath the deep, thrumming heartbeat filling the room. When the light faded, Clara was gone. Only the empty sheet remained, still warm. Vance exhaled deeply, eyes shining with renewed youth. He turned toward Noah, smiling with gentle pride. "You see, renewal. The old body, the dying energy, transformed." Noah stumbled backward, bile rising in his throat. "You killed her," he whispered. Vance shook his head, almost kindly. "No, Noah, she lives in me now, and soon so will you." The clinic was silent, except for the hum of the storm outside. Noah sat alone in the dark hallway, trembling, his mind replaying every word Vance had said. "She lives in me now." The lights flickered again, once, twice, then steadied. From behind the operating room door came the faint shuffle of feet, followed by Vance's calm, unhurried voice. "One final demonstration." Noah's chest tightened. He turned toward the door, but it swung open before he touched it. "Come," said Vance. "You deserve to see perfection." Vance led Noah into the observation gallery, a glass-walled room overlooking the chamber below. "This will be your lesson," he said, locking the door behind them with a slow metallic click. Noah's heartbeat pounded against the silence. Through the glass, the operating table waited beneath a single hanging light. Vance moved calmly to a control panel, adjusting switches that brought faint mechanical hums to life. "Watch," he said. "Witness the cycle that keeps us whole." The lights below dimmed to a deep amber hue. The hum grew louder, vibrating through the floor, making the glass tremble. Shapes moved just beyond the circle of light, faint silhouettes shifting, like figures underwater. Noah pressed his face to the glass, trying to focus. They weren't people anymore, not really. Their outlines shimmered and warped, whispering in a rhythm that matched the pulsing machines. "They're calling," Vance said softly, eyes shining. "They remember the pain that made them whole." Noah pounded on the locked door, shouting for Vance to stop whatever he was doing. The doctor didn't even turn. His hand hovered above the final switch. "Don't you see?" Vance said. "We can become endless." The machines surged. The lights below flashed white, and Noah stumbled backward, shielding his eyes. Through the glare, he saw a human shape begin to rise from the table. Faint, translucent, half there. The glass between them rippled like liquid. Noah screamed Vance's name, but his voice was swallowed by the noise. Then, silence. The hum faded. The light below flickered out, leaving only the faint glow of emergency lamps. Vance turned toward Noah slowly, the faintest smile on his lips. "You understand now?" he said. Noah's breath trembled. "No," he whispered. "I understand what you've done." But when he blinked, the doctor was gone. Only the echo of footsteps and the faint scent of ozone remained, alone behind the glass. Noah looked down once more. The table was empty, but a handprint, pale and human, appeared slowly on the inside of the glass. From the other side, the storm had quieted by morning, but the air inside the clinic felt thicker, heavier, as if the walls themselves were breathing. Noah followed the faint mechanical hum that pulsed through the floor, tracing it to a vent behind the observation gallery. The screws were old and came loose easily. A narrow passage waited behind, descending into blackness. The smell of salt and electricity mixed with something faintly sweet. He took a deep breath, switched on his flashlight, and began to crawl. The tunnel opened into a narrow corridor, lined with old cables and rusted panels. At the far end stood a heavy door marked "Restricted." The hum was louder now, vibrating through the soles of his shoes. He pressed his ear to the door, a rhythmic, muffled pulse, too slow to be machinery. When he turned the handle, it opened on its own, releasing a faint gust of air that smelled like the sea at low tide. Beyond it stretched a vast, dim chamber. Inside, hundreds of glass tubes lined the walls, connected by veins of glowing wires. Each one pulsed faintly, as if synchronized to a slow heartbeat. He moved closer and saw faint shapes within. Not corpses, not quite. Faces flickering in and out of recognition like memories half remembered. Clara's voice whispered from somewhere unseen. "We never left." Noah stumbled back, nearly dropping the light. The tubes seemed to breathe in unison, the glow shifting subtly toward a deep, living red. A soft sound came from the far end, a door creaking open. Dr. Vance stepped through, dressed once again in his spotless coat, eyes calm as ever. "You found them," he said, almost tenderly. "You should be proud." His voice echoed in the chamber, layered with faint whispers that didn't belong to him. Noah raised the flashlight like a weapon. "What did you do to them?" he demanded. Vance smiled. "They volunteered. You heard their pain. I simply gave it purpose." Noah turned to run, but the door sealed shut with a metallic snap. The hum deepened, vibrating through the floor and his bones. The tubes began to flicker, their light shifting toward white, the silhouettes within growing sharper. Vance's voice came again, quieter now, almost kind. "Don't you see, Noah? The miracle is continuity. We don't die, we join." The glow intensified, forcing Noah to shield his eyes. And just before everything went white, he heard a whisper behind him, dozens of voices in unison. "Stay." When Noah awoke, he was outside. The morning sky was pale gray, sea below roaring against the cliffs. The clinic stood behind him, windows shattered, smoke drifting from its vents. His clothes were soaked, his flashlight gone. He didn't remember escaping, only the light swallowing everything. For a moment, he thought he saw figures in the fog, watching from the shattered doorway, not hostile, not human, simply waiting. He stumbled toward the road, whispering to himself that he was free, but the word didn't sound right anymore. Anymore. Hours later, police cars and an ambulance lined the road. Noah sat wrapped in a blanket, trying to explain, but every sentence sounded insane. "He takes people," he said, voice cracking. "He keeps them alive somehow." The officers exchanged uneasy looks. One entered the clinic, but returned minutes later, pale and trembling. "There's nothing in there," he muttered. Noah turned toward the sea, heart pounding. "He was here," he whispered. "I saw him." The detective frowned. "Then where is he now?" They took him to the station. Under the harsh white lights, Noah's story twisted itself into fragments. Static, half memory, half nightmare. When the detective placed a photograph on the table, Noah froze. It showed the clinic, as it had stood years ago. Boarded, abandoned, long before he'd arrived. "That building burned down 5 years ago," the detective said quietly. "There hasn't been a doctor. Elias Vance here since 1989. Noah's throat went dry. In the reflection of the glass table, he thought he saw movement, a familiar smile that wasn't his. That night, alone in the motel room, Noah set up a camera. He wanted proof, something to make sense of what he'd seen. The footage shows him speaking softly, voice trembling. If anyone finds this, don't go near that place. The power flickered. His reflection in the mirror behind him didn't move. He stared at it, frozen. Slowly, the reflection smiled. Not wide, just enough. Then, the lights went out. Weeks later, investigators returned to the cliffside. The clinic was gone. Not burned, not collapsed. Simply gone, as though it had never existed. Only the rusted sign remained, swaying gently in the sea wind. Dr. Elias Vance, rejuvenation specialist. In the motel room, the camera still recorded, lens pointed toward the mirror. The glass shimmered faintly, and from its depths, a calm voice whispered, "Miracles take time."